This from the New York Times this morning. Publicly, the Bush administration has not said how it would respond if the Maliki government tries to carry out its threat to evict Blackwater. But administration officials and executives in both security contracting industry said Wednesday that they believe that the White House and the State Department would seek to block any move by Iraq to force the company out. The issue is already leading to sharp tensions between the governments, and any effort by the United States to force Iraq to keep Blackwater could make the Maliki government appear to be a weak puppet. Will you comment on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, what we understand in the last 24 hours is now the U.S. government has ordered all of its personnel not to travel outside of the heavily fortified green zone for fear that there are going to be reprisal attacks against Blackwater guarded convoys. So in addition to the demand of or the suggestion by the Maliki government that they're going to expel Blackwater or that they want another company to take over the security for the U.S. Embassy, we have a very real political problem for the Bush administration, or some would say a real military problem for the diplomats, because now Blackwater has a visibility that the company, it's a nightmare for Blackwater right now, because now their name is known all throughout Iraq and the Arab world, and whenever they're escorting a convoy, the risk is going to be escalated. So it also could boil down to a practicality that Blackwater simply won't be able to perform its duties for the U.S. government in Iraq, because it now has been accused of killing 20 Iraqi civilians, and certainly all Iraqis now have heard the name Blackwater.
You talk about the warnings that they've given about reprisal attacks. We've got the headline on this that the group has been banned. But what kind of a status really are they operating in? USA Today says that Blackwater's work, according to Maliki, has been halted, but he did not say that its license has been revoked. Can you put some meat on those bones for us?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's an absolutely ridiculous system that exists over there that governs these private security forces. I mean, the United States is occupying Iraq, and the idea that the Iraqi government is licensing private security companies may sound good on paper, or may be some kind of a chit thrown at the Iraqi government. But let's be clear here. Blackwater USA is not going to take orders from the Maliki government. In fact, my understanding is that Blackwater's license to operate in Iraq expired many months ago, and that the company has been unable to renew it anyway. It's almost a moot point whether or not Blackwater loses its license. I mean, if the Iraqi government is a sovereign government, which the Bush administration wants to say it is, and Maliki says these 1,000 individuals need to leave the sovereign nation of Iraq, and they don't do it, it sends a very clear message about President Bush's definition of sovereignty.
Next call is a call from Eugene, Oregon, Democrats line.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Jeremy, I want to thank you for your book, and I want to thank C-SPAN for having the practicing its right for freedom of speech to have Jeremy Scahill on their program. It's amazing, considering where our mainstream media is today. Jeremy, I saw your piece on Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman, and as I've seen several others in the past, I'd like you to speak to the philosophy behind Blackwater and its connection with the mission, seemingly, from people such as Vice President Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, and the Bush administration. Thank you.
Thanks, caller.
Well, Blackwater is very much a product of the kind of government that this administration came into power intending to create, and that is to sort of run Washington as though it's like a venture capital firm. Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney both have very much pushed a radical privatization agenda. In fact, Dick Cheney, when he was the Secretary of Defense under George H.W. Bush, one of the last things he did in the aftermath of the Gulf War is to radically expand the civilian support program for the military, the program where civilian contractors are used to support U.S. military operations abroad. And in fact, Cheney hired a division of Halliburton, the company he would go on to head, to essentially perform a study on how to create a market for itself and other war companies. During the Gulf War, the ratio of private contractors to soldiers was about 60 soldiers to every one contractor. Right now, there are more contractors in Iraq than there are actual soldiers. And in fact, Donald Rumsfeld famously gave a speech on September 10th, 2001, in which he declared war on the Pentagon bureaucracy. He said, I've come not to attack the Pentagon, but to liberate it. We need to save it from itself. And he implemented what was known as the Rumsfeld doctrine. And Blackwater very much is an outgrowth of those policies of radical privatization. And we need to be clear here. The Bush administration, by using these kinds of forces in such great numbers in Iraq, gains an enormous level of political expediency. The deaths of Blackwater contractors and other private contractors don't get counted in the official death toll. Their actions go largely unmonitored, and they certainly have gone unprosecuted. And so this is sort of a backdoor surge, if you will, that's been going on for all 4 years of the occupation, and it's really doubled the size of the U.S. occupation force in Iraq.
Your book opens with very well publicized around the globe the deaths of the 4 Blackwater contractors whose bodies were mutilated and burned and hung from a bridge for the world to see. Do we have any sort of estimations on how many contractors have lost their lives in Iraq?
We do. First of all, Blackwater itself has lost somewhere between 25 and 30 of its operatives, although the company doesn't always publicize when its men are killed. Oftentimes we learn about it because of the kinds of incidents that we've seen unfold in Iraq over these 4 years where contractors are killed, like the Fallujah incident that you mentioned. There's a federal insurance program called that operates under an act of Congress known as the Defense Base Act that was passed in the 1940s. And basically what it says is that contractors who are serving the U.S. military abroad and are killed or injured are entitled to receive benefits. And we know that over 1,000 families of contractors killed in Iraq have applied for federal benefits under the Defense Base Act. So a minimum of 1,000 of these contractors have been killed. But I have to say that the vast majority of contractors who work for the U.S. government in Iraq are not U.S. citizens, and there are layers of subcontracts. So that 1,000 is just a fraction of the number. And when you add that to the U.S. soldier death toll, which is somewhere in the ballpark of 4,000, you realize that it masks the human cost of the war in terms of U.S. lives.
Exeter, New Hampshire, Republican line.
Hi, thanks. I have your book. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to dig into it. I'm looking at Pelton's book right now, License to Kill. But a comment you made at the start of the program with regard to the owner of the company, Erik Prince, his religion and his political background. Why is that more important than his professional background, which, if I understand correctly, he was a Navy SEAL? If correct me if I'm wrong, and I had understood that, read somewhere something that he was part of the counter-terrorist unit, SEAL Team 6. And isn't that the main focus, or do you think it's that he's a evangelical Christian, or however you termed it? Which is more important? Thanks, and I'll listen in.
I think that Blackwater has a number of reputations around the world, and certainly within the U.S. national security apparatus. I think a lot of other private military contractors in Iraq view the company as arrogant and its operatives as sort of cowboy tactics. But the fact is that Blackwater also is viewed as the sort of elite Maserati of the industry, if you will. It's not the biggest company, it's not the most profitable, but it certainly does provide a number of elite former Special Forces operators to the U.S. government. Mr. Prince himself is a former Navy SEAL. Blackwater does hire a lot of former Navy SEALs in Delta Force, and that's a major part of why the U.S. government wants to work with them. The flip side of it, which the caller raises, is that Erik Prince himself and his extended family have been deeply involved with funding politicians whose belligerent policies have made Blackwater's meteoric ascent to prominence within the war on terror machine possible. And I think that on the issue of the right-wing evangelical Christianity, one of the reasons why I do think that that's relevant in the current political context is that Erik Prince is a member of a board of an organization that says very clearly that they believe that the Bible is the only infallible word of God. Another executive at Blackwater openly declares his membership in the Military Order of Malta, a Christian militia dating back to the First Crusades. And when you deploy forces with leadership like those men in a Muslim country, and you say you're trying to win hearts and minds, I think it sends a contradicting message. So it's not about the religion as much as it is the politics, or anyone who declares their religion to be supreme over everyone else's.
Next.